Okay, great. So after chapter 1, we are coming to our chapter 2, where we will now dive into variables. Okay, so variable is created by two words, vary plus able. So ability to, okay, so something which can change, which can vary. Okay, so that is a variable. Okay, so there are broadly three categories of variables. Okay, so what will be? One is your local variable, one is your instance variable, one is your static variable. Okay, you might not understand from whatever is written here. Okay, but the questions, the output based questions will very drastically change its output depending on how the variable is declared. Okay, and these are the points from where the MCQ questions are based in. Okay, so a local variable, for basically a local variable will be defined within a function. Okay, an instance variable will be defined, declared outside, it will be defined inside the class, outside the method. Okay, and then there is something called static variable. Okay, these things you cannot, you just ignore the theoretical part just for an understanding I have written here, but these 3 points will be explained by using output based questions. Okay, we'll go to that. Okay, we'll write some small codes. Okay, suppose you're complete beginner in Java as well, you will, I'll try to make you understand. Okay, first let us try to understand what exactly is a variable. So variable is something which can store, which can change. So suppose I write something as int a. Suppose I write something as int a. So this actually means this is your variable name and this is the data type of the variable. Okay, so this alone is a variable, but when I write int a, then this becomes declaration of a variable. And suppose I write int a equals to 5, it becomes initialization of the variable. The value of the initial value of the variable is initialized. The initial value of the variable is initialized. Okay, so variable names can so you'll have to name a variable for each and everything whatever you do in Java. Suppose I tell you that you have to take two numbers as an input, two integers as an input to add them. So you will have to take two variables. One variable will be a, one variable will be b. And why I'm writing int here? Because it is an integer. It is told in the question that you have to take two integers as an input. So int a, int b. Okay, so 1523. Okay, so int a, int b, 1523. And now what you're going to do, you have to add them. So you have to add and store the result. So again, to store this result, again you will need one another variable c, or you can name that variable as int sum as well, no problem. Int sum equals to a plus b. What I'm trying to tell you is anything and everything is requiring what? Variable. Okay, and then there will be certain rules to how to name the variable. Okay, and this rule is very important in MCQ. In MCQ, most of the guys will know that the variable name must start with a letter. So it can be a, it can be small a, doesn't matter, but it has to start with a letter, or it can start with an underscore name, something like this. It can start with, also it can start with dollar. This is the point which many of you miss. Okay, so you have to very carefully remember that dollar, underscore and letter can be your starting point. Okay, and what can variable have? It can have any of the things after it starts with a letter, after it starts with a letter. Okay, after it starts with a letter, in between you can have anything. You can have digit as well. Okay, but it cannot start with digit. That is the very next point. It cannot start with digit, and space is not allowed, and it is case sensitive. So if I write something as int a equals to 5, and then I can also write as int capital A equals to 7, both are different variables. Okay, both are different variables. Suppose I have to store a name called full name, so I will write something as string full name equals to Ritesh. Cool, I wrote this, but you cannot have space, so you will put underscore here. This sign you will put in between two, so you cannot have space between variable name. Okay, suppose you have phone number, so phone underscore number, so you will have a point of wherever you have space you can fill it with underscore. Okay, so this is your concept of variables. All right, so there, so once variable is coming, you can also, what I wanted to say, something. Okay, cool, we will get to that. Okay, correct. Now let me go to data types. So there are primitively two data types. One is primitive data type, one is non-primitive data type. Primitive data type means it is already defined in Java already. Okay, it is there by primitive, my primitive, like previously already it is there from your old age. Okay, it is there by default. These data types are present. And non-primitive is user defined. We have derived this data type from this data type. Okay, we have made these data types from these data types. Okay, from existing data types we have created something new. So very important MCQ question. String is not your primitive data type. Okay, in MCQ every time it will be asked. Okay, either you are in school or college, this is getting asked. Okay, what I'll tell you here is, what you need to know is different. What I wanted to tell here more, something I wanted to say. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll tell you here is, your data type will start from here. So the smallest data type is byte. Okay, this is the small data, and then you have sort. Okay, which is the size of it is 2 byte. Then you have int, which is 4 byte, which is 4 times greater than the byte. Then you have long. Long is also an integer type only, but for long, suppose you have to store phone number. So phone number is an integer, but it is very long integer. So you will take long. Then you have something called float. Float also 4 bytes. Float is for decimals. Double size is 8 bytes. Okay, this 2 bytes, if the question is answered, if the options are given in byte, you have to give 2 byte. If the answer question is given in bits, so it will become 16 bits, because 1 byte is actually equals to 8 bits. Okay, remember that. Then you have something as char, which is storing 2 size, and then you have something as boolean. The size of boolean is dependent on the JVM. Okay, so it is not fixed size. Okay, it is dependent on the JVM. And boolean means what? True or false. And the t of true is small and the f of false is small. Never write as false as like this. There is nothing as this and there is nothing as this. Okay, very important. Why? Because Java is case sensitive. Okay, and now what we wanted to say here, we want to understand, when do we use integer data type, when do we use long data type, when do we use float. So these kind of things we can go. When do we use stores? So for 1 digit you can even use byte. When can you use? You can use byte when you storing something as 0 or 1. So suppose you want to store 0 for an active customer. Sorry, suppose you want to store 0 for inactive customer, and if the customer is active, then you are storing 1. So you need only 1 byte. So you can use byte as the data type there. Okay, because in coding, in programming, in real world, you will be asked to use the most sufficient data type. Okay, most sufficient and minimum okay, data type. You can also use int, there is no problem, but int will take up more space. It will take up 4 bytes, but this is taking only 1 byte. And in real world there are lakhs and lakhs of millions and millions of data. So this millions and millions of data will make your thing very huge. Okay, if you do not use the correct data type. Understood? Then sort is for number, normal number, small number, you even sort. But then integer means something which is byte sort. This means what? Something which is without decimal. Okay, without decimals. So -3 can also be stored in integer, 2 can also be stored in integer, 125 can also be stored in integer, 10,000 can also be stored in an integer. Why? Because they do not have any decimal. -5,035 can also be stored in the integer. Why? Because they do not have any decimal. Okay, and long, when we will use long, like suppose you have a phone number 91314. Suppose you have a phone number. Now this phone number is very big. This is also an integer, this is also an integer, this is also an integer, but this is not big. Why it is an integer? Because it does not have any decimal, but it is very long integer. So as soon as you go to 8 9 10 digits, something like that, okay, 7 8 9 10 digits, then we have to use long data type. Okay, long data type. Then what is float? Float is an integer, like 2.5. It is float. Why? Because it is floating between 3 and 2. It is neither completely 2, it is neither completely 3. That is why this data type is actually called float. Okay, no one will ask you why it is called float, but I just give you the background. Okay, suppose it is 5.8, so it is floating between 6 and it is 5. It is in the number line, it is neither completely 5 neither completely 6. So it is a float data type. Float means decimals. -5.0 is also float. Why? Because it is decimal. Okay, great. Then when do we use double? Double data type is used, suppose, when both the possibilities is possible. Okay, so double. So let me, if I ask you that we have to calculate average of 3 students. Okay, average of 3 students mark, average of 3 subject marks. Suppose out of 10 Out of 10, the student has scored 6, 7 and 8. What will be the average? 6 plus 7 plus 8 divided by 3. So what will be the average? 21 divided by 3. You will get 7 this time, right? Cool. But suppose the student has scored 6 plus 7 plus 9 and then you are dividing it by 3. So this time it will be 22 by 3 and this time the answer will be in decimal, right? This time the answer will be in decimal. So sometimes you can get the answer in point also and sometimes you can get it without point also. When both the cases is possible or whenever there is something division possible, suppose area of a right angle triangle, half base into height. So half, you are getting half. Now something we are dividing. Anywhere where some division is involved, you will have to use double. You will have to use double. Suppose you are converting Celsius into Fahrenheit. So 9 by 5. So you see 9 by 5. You are dividing. So again for Fahrenheit you will have to take double. Understood? So in that case you will use double data type. Char data type is simple, like one F for female, M for male. This is your char data type, and character data type is always stored in single quotes. It is always stored in single quotes. It is always stored in single quotes. Cool. And then from here we will move to non-primitive data type, string. Why? Because I told you string is how is a string a derived data type? Why? You see, if you understand one thing, you in your kiddie days you read about something called ABCD, right? You read A B C D A P P L E. All these were your letters, all these were your characters. Once you combine all the character at once, so it will become a word, right? Suppose R I T E S H, these are all individual characters, right? Once you combine all the characters in one, it will become one whole word. So string is nothing but a derived data type. Okay, string is nothing but sequence of characters, sequence of characters. Okay, and string is always inside double quotes. String is always inside double quotes. Similarly, we have array, class, interface, etc. Okay, we did not deep dive there, but just an example we have given. One important point I told you, you have to know this part. Okay, that string is a non-primitive data type. Cool. Now we will come here to very important concept, the default values. Okay, the default values are very important that you have to understand. So if there is an integer, suppose you have declared int a. Okay, so internally one memory will be created with the name a and one space will be created of 4 bytes because integer takes 4 bytes. Integer take 4 bytes, and suppose you have not assigned anything, you have not written how much it is equal to. Okay, so what will Java do? It will give it a default value. So the default value of integer is 0. The default value of integer is 0. Default value of float will be 0.0 f. You have to see this f as well. Okay, default value of double will be 0.0 d. Okay, default value of character is this. Default value of string is this. Okay, and very important, default value of boolean is false. Default value of boolean is false. Very important. They will ask you what is the default value of boolean? False. Okay, great. Don't get confused by this, whatever it is written here 0 0. This is nothing but it is your blank space category here. This means, okay, so you can add it, you can just simply write as this. Okay, cool. Now where do we want to move into? What we want to see, I told you now. See, this is your data type, this is your declaring of the data type, and this is your initialization of the data type. Static initialization means you have fixed the value of that, you have directly fixed the value of that static data type. And this is dynamic. Why? This is dynamic. Why? Because a plus b, so as the value of a and b will change, the value of c will change. Okay, if a and b is 2 and 3, then it will be 5. If a and b is -2 and -3, it will be -5. So that is something called dynamic. This is just a theoretical knowledge. Okay, so let us quickly understand here. Suppose what will be the answers for this? Age. What data type will you use for age? Int. Cool, correct. What will you use for roll number? Int. What will you use for this? Double. Okay, for user is active or not, you can use byte. Simple. For price, again double, because price can be in point as well. For population of two things I'll give you here. What will you use for a population of a country? Okay, let us take a city, of a big city, and then population of a school. So if it is a population of a school, you can still use it, because in any school more than 5,000 to 10,000 students will not be there, right? But in a city there can be crores of people. Okay, like UP, you have a lot of people or something that I want to tell you, right? Okay, suppose there is a state or a country, so it will get very long, so it will be long data type. Okay, understood this? Very good. Then suppose you have an ASCII code, Unicode, Then you have a mobile number. Okay, Unicode, again byte, you can go into that byte sort. Then you have mobile number. Mobile number means it will be your long. Okay, we have discussed the number of students in college. Okay, it is 20, so we have discussed it will be integer. Gender like male female will be, sorry, I'm writing it, it will be char. Cool. Okay, this is very important line, minimum or smallest data type. Okay, in real world we are asked that. Okay, great.